The reaction in the dressing room is what you would expect it to be, that they weren't good enough tonight. That's what Seth Jones went out of his way to say. That's what Brandon Dubinsky went out of his way to say. You were right down there between the benches. Why weren't they good enough tonight?
Oh, it's unacceptable to hear that. I just think that they've had a great camp, all the good talk we've had. They had a good start to this game. I think they got away from the team game. They got hesitant when things got tough. And, boy, I tell you what, when you got a one line that's doing that much damage, you need to shut them down. I just felt like they couldn't handle that line as a group. And I don't know if they weren't taking care of their own end first, then worrying about getting out of their zone. But things got stretched out. And, that Backus goal, puck goes off the end boards, bounces their way. I get that. Marchand knocks a puck out of the air on Werenski behind the net, gets it to Pasternak. That's a quick goal. Our guys getting beat back on a back check because Marchand, and he gets that rebound on a breakaway. I don't really get that. I mean, there's some questions for me in those areas, but no, that's not acceptable tonight. The season ended that way last year. They come into this season. This is a game that they could have had, I think, especially with Bergeron being out. But they found a way to. Boston found a way to win, and then when things got locked up, I thought maybe in the third things would come the Blue Jackets' way, and they'd put that effort in. But they could not get that feel-good game going like they had in the beginning.
Yeah, if it was a 20-minute game, everybody would go home happy tonight, but that's not the way it is. And you're right. I was expecting that energy in the third period. I thought this is the consummate, and I said that to Nick Foligno after the second period when he was doing the interview with me, and it was on the scoreboard in the building. I said, this is what you just trained for 2 weeks, right? I mean, this was the whole thing. This was the conditioning to get through the third period, and I really expected to see it. And it didn't work out that way. What it looked like to me is what it looked like last week against the Bruins, where all of a sudden they couldn't get out of their own end. If they did get out of their own end, they couldn't barely get across the red line, and they couldn't get into the other zone at all because the Bruins had it all locked down.
Well, there were a couple goals they got out-muscled on the wall, board battles, stick battles with the puck, which resulted in more zone time for the Bruins and just wore down the Blue Jackets. They got a little confused. Some of their players, they have new players in the lineup, and the more time you spend in the defensive zone, the more it wears and exposes some of the young players, I think. And not saying it's their fault. One goal maybe where they got worn down a bit in their own end, but I'm telling you, it was a team effort in the beginning. I love the way they came out of their own end in the first period with speed as a group, working for each other. That's the key to this team, is getting out of their own end and getting the offensive zone. Too much time in their own end, and, it's only one game. I know that. But right now it's frustrating, and they need to feel that way right now and not worry about tomorrow yet. This has to stew for a bit.
Sergei Bobrovsky.
That's the way I feel.
No, well, that's good. I want to know how you feel. And you've been there. You've been in the fire, and you know what the feeling should be right now in the room, especially as a veteran player that has that level of caring and wanted this to be a much different thing tonight. Because all those guys said all day is, well, we've moved by last year. We've gotten by that. We're just moving forward with this whole thing. And I understand that. But then this becomes somewhat of a little reminder of that feeling at the early part of last year, and that's the last thing they want.
It's unfortunate because the feeling in this building, and I know it's an 82-game season, but tonight and right now, the feeling in this building in the first half of the game was tremendous. And, things were going so good. And it's so disappointing to sit here and say that they lost a grip of their game. Now, again, new teammates, there's new situations, but to manage the game, I thought even early I was really excited that the veterans seemed to grab situations that were maybe a little too quick. It's a different level from preseason to regular season. I thought maybe it was a little too quick for some of the young guys early, which is understandable, but I loved how Saad and Foligno really grabbed the puck and settled things down and let the other guys follow up. But as it wore on, it just seemed like the whole group didn't stay on the same page. And when these guys were playing well a couple of years ago, we said there was a group leadership, a group effort to win games defensively and offensively. And tonight they were waiting for someone to grab it again, and that's not going to work for this team.
In the first period, they were rolling four lines. As a matter of fact, the fourth line got a lot of time in the first period of this game. Josh Anderson, for him, this is a guy, and I said this during the game, there were points in training camp I was saying, is this guy blowing his opportunity to make this team?
Right.
Tonight, he played just like the guy he's got to play like every game. He's got to do what he did tonight. He had some great chances. I thought Carlson played well. They had Calvert with them at the beginning, and they were doing good things. And then, they disappeared, and part of the reason, I'm sure, is because they couldn't handle the top line when they were there. So then they matched it up with the Dubinsky line, and he just admitted to me a few minutes ago that they just didn't simply get the job done. In fact, by the end of the game, Boone Jenner was on that fourth line, and Matt Calvert was up on top.
They were trying anything towards the end of the game, and it's unfortunate that those changes expect those changes every game, winning or losing. Torts will make those adjustments. We know that unless there's a set line that's rolling like the Bruins had tonight. I mean, that was amazing that what was going on with that line. They had, and that's a line that's I don't know if Backus has never played with those guys before, and the chemistry they found early, and Brad Marchand, I'm telling you. What an impressive player. I was amazed. I was down between the benches, as you mentioned. The effort that he has on pucks, second effort, quick plays. I mean, he could have had 3 more with his effort. There was one play there where he snuck inside of Ryan Murray behind the net, stole the puck, and then made a play out front. It's just, he's very quick, and he just got that 6-year deal. And I think it was 6 years, right? Much-deserved deal.
Yeah,
long-term deal, we'll say.
And that's why people were I don't know. Well, yeah, they were panicking in Boston because we were there during the preseason the day that he got the extension, and they were panicking a little bit because if you'll recall, I think it was the day before, people were saying, well, he's hinting that he might be interested in playing with Sidney Crosby at some point before his career's over, and then the next day he had a 6-year contract. So, if there's anybody that you'd like to broadcast with, just say it.
Yeah, right. But no, he's a guy you'd love to have on your team. You appreciate that effort that he put forth, and I thought Tuukka looked rusty at first. I mean, obviously that Wennberg, they've been begging Wennberg to shoot the puck, and he shoots and he scores and he's on the bench smiling like, hey, that will work if I do that. And you could sense the Blue Jackets players attacking with that shot mentality of, hey, we just saw what happened. Let's keep this going. But it seemed like they backed off just enough. And you spoke of Josh Anderson earlier. The scrum in front of the net before the Wennberg goal was a big play. He's sitting in the box. They protected the goaltender. Sergei made an unbelievable flurry of saves right there, and then they rumble down the ice and score. And that's what you want. We talked about it earlier. Sergei holds down the fort, and you reward him with a goal, and they did that early in the game, but just seemed to get picked apart, like I said, with that top line.
Yeah, they sure did. We're waiting for John Tortorella to come out and address the media. When Wennberg scored, I'm going to be honest with you, when he scored the first goal of the game, I thought, well, they're winning this game tonight. I mean, here's a guy that doesn't shoot, who shoots, and he goes, top shelf, the very first shot that he takes in the game, and, it was really feel good, as you said. And then when they score on a power play in 17 seconds.
That's the most disappointing thing, I think, exactly what you just said. We all felt that way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Maybe they felt that way.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it was, it's disappointing. And I hate to harken back to last year, but it was similar in some ways because you had that lead and you had that feel good, and then the feel good kind of it was not sucked out as quickly in the third period today as it was before.